So, today we're going to be asking you to make graphs, and we're going to be using this Google Sheets. So, you should have made a copy of this data for DSP2 2021. And I know this is surprising. We're going to be talking about some COVID and some vaccinations. So, if I were to look at this says percent of cases, and so these are percentages by state: Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, and Ohio. So I found a resource that allowed me to pull out only certain states. So I just picked our state and then the states that touch us, border us, and decided that would make the most sense because those are going to be what impacts you. So we're talking about the number of people who are white who have cases of COVID. Then it's talking about the total white population. So you can see here that 50% of Illinois' cases are of the white population, but their white population is actually 61% of the total population. So if there is a disparity, these numbers should be the same. So you can see they're the same here in Indiana, or close to being the same. We're 1% off. In Kentucky, there's more white populations. And then in Michigan and Ohio, there's less. So the Illinois, 14% of the population, or 14% of the cases are people who are Black. 14% of the population is Black. The Hispanic is 29% of the cases, and it's only 18% of the population. And then you can see that Asian, 3% and 6%. So at least in Illinois, you could see that the one that has the highest disparity, the population that is negatively impacted the most, is the Hispanic population. And the same thing is true in Indiana, because 10% of the populations are Hispanic, but only 7% of the population. If we're looking at Kentucky, it looks like the white population is taking on more of the cases. In Michigan, again, the Hispanic population is affected more negatively. And then in Ohio, it is actually our Black populations and Hispanic populations who are affected more. Then if we're looking at vaccinations, so these are the total number of vaccines administered by state. So Indiana has only administered just over 6 million. Kentucky just over 4 million. So Illinois has done the best in terms of number of people. This is number of people who have been vaccinated. So you can see, why is there a difference in here? Well, we've got to keep in mind that some of our vaccinations are single dose and some of them are double dose. So when we're looking at this total vaccines administered, remember, Moderna and Pfizer have 2 shots. So if you were getting Moderna or Pfizer, you had to have 2 shots, compared to Johnson & Johnson is only 1 shot. So we probably really want to look at the number of people who've been vaccinated. And then we need to look at the share of that population. So 63% of Illinois, shame, shame, shame. Indiana, only 47.7% of our population is fully vaccinated. Oh, I'm sorry. This one is share of population with at least 1 dose. So 52.8, 53.5, and 50%. So good job, Illinois, for getting at least one of their persons, or at least one shot into each of the people. And then the people who are fully vaccinated. So we're looking at, again, of our neighboring states, we have the lowest number, 44.5% are fully vaccinated. So how do we make a graph from this? Great question. Okay. So the first thing is you're going to highlight the box. So we're going to separate these into two separate graphs. So we're going to put a box around. We're going to start at the location, make sure we go all the way down to Ohio, and we're going to go all the way over to the Asian population. And then we're going to click on this where it says Insert Chart. And it may take a moment for it to kind of load up for you, but it's going to automatically suggest a column chart. And that's because of the way our data is kind of split up. You can then click on the column chart button and change it to a line or an area graph, or we could do a stacked column. This one seems to make the most sense for me, but we could do a bar chart. And then you could see where all of our pieces are. We could do a pie chart because we're looking at 100%. But that doesn't really make sense because this is actually just white cases, and that doesn't really make sense. But then it would do a donut where all it does is take out the whole. Scatter chart isn't going to make sense in this scenario. We could do a map. It will actually fill out a map for us. And then there's some others. So on this, what happens is it takes Illinois and then it adds Indiana to it, and then it adds Kentucky, and then it adds Michigan, and then it adds Ohio, and then this is the difference of everything, which that doesn't really make sense in this scenario. So we can find a variety of different ways of showing data. So, I mean, you can see this, timelines, a tree map, candlestick. This is actually in terms of, that's like a box and whisker plot. But I think the most, what's going to help us is because we're doing percentages, we're going to do a stacking chart. And we're going to make two separate charts. We're going to do one that has cases versus total population. So we're going to remove the ones that say total population. And again, the way I do this is I click on the three dots next to total population, and then I click remove. 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 So these are the percentage of cases by state for this particular graph. So things that you need to make sure you always include in a graph is a title. Is there a title here? No, we're going to edit the chart. It's already over here, so where's our... Okay. Nope, we want to keep that. I see no title. Here's our legend. There it is. See, sometimes you just have to click on things. So I clicked on this and it's going to give us our legend, and I like that. The series, it's going to change how you put your lines and things like that. I don't really want to, but I do need a chart title. So you have to click on the graph itself and then go to chart and title, or access title. So the chart title is going to be Indiana and neighboring states percent of COVID by race. So you have to have a title, you have to have a key of some kind, which we do have a key, which is good. You need to make sure that there's a label here and a label here. We've got everything. Now, how do you submit this? Okay, so if you click on it, click on the three dots. You're going to click on download. And I don't care if you do a PD or PNG or a PDF, either one, but you're going to do one of those two. I'm going to do a PNG, and it will be on your computer. And then when you submit, go back to the submitting piece, you will submit it there. So let's try it again. So you've got to make 2 for this particular data. This one is number of cases. Well, but what about population? So let's highlight the data. Click on the chart. Let's go back down to our type of chart. And this time we're going to get rid of the number of cases. And then remember, we're going to click on this, go to chart access titles, and here we're going to put Indiana and neighboring states percent of race, or percent of population by race. Now, if you want to move the location of your legend, I'm just spreading it out so that it gets in one single line. You can add on here that it will show the data. So there's a way to do that. When it says format data point, you would simply do add, and it will add that population on there. It will put that piece as a point. Okay, so if you wanted to do that, you could. Or data labels. So you can see that it's put those data labels for Hispanic, and then you click on it again and add data labels. But we're not going to worry about that right now. Again, to download it, you're going to click on download, and this time I'm going to do it as a PDF. Make sure you have a title, labels, and it looks fabulous. So I would like you to try and make a graph on your own for the second set of data. So you need to do the two following this video, and then make one for the third set of data. And it's okay however you choose to do it. If you want to just do the number of people, if you want to do just the percentage that is shared, that is up to you. I've presented you with data, and I want you to choose how it is graphed. So if you want to only focus on Indiana and include that information, but I want you to make a graph for this. So you will be submitting 3 graphs. You will be submitting the Indiana and neighboring states percent of population by race, Indiana and neighboring states percent of COVID by race, and then something else with the vaccines that are administered. So you're going to make your own graph. You're going to highlight this information, select Insert Chart, and then determine the kind of chart you want to make, and submit that as well. I hope everyone is happy and healthy, and I will see you soon.